Four ordinary objects from ancient China quietly rewired the modern world. A rock that points south, a pinch of black powder, a sheet made from tree bark and old fishing nets, a block of carved wood dipped in ink. None of them look like much, but together, these four inventions changed how we fight wars, how we sail oceans, how we write, and how we remember anything at all. By the end of this video, you'll see why historians believe these four inventions did more to shape the modern world than thousands of years of warfare, politics, or empire building. Somewhere between 200 BCE and 100 CE, Chinese scholars discovered that a strange black stone called lodestone always turned to face the same direction, no matter how many times you spun it. This was one of the earliest known magnets on Earth. But here's the twist. Nobody used it to sail anywhere. The first compasses were carved into the shape of a spoon and balanced on a polished bronze plate, and they were used for Feng Shui, deciding which direction a house, a tomb, or a palace should face to stay in harmony with the earth. Before the compass ever touched a ship, it was pointing at furniture. Before this, sailors had no such shortcut. They hugged coastlines, read the sun and stars, and, depending on the culture, studied waves or watched the flight of birds to guess where land was. It all worked until a storm hit or the fog rolled in. Then sailors were simply lost. Eventually, the compass made its way onto ships, spreading from China outward across the world. Once sailors could always find their bearings, everything changed. This single tool helped make possible the long ocean crossings of the age of exploration, the voyages that reached the Americas and charted new routes to Asia. Some historians believe the compass changed the course of history more than the sword ever did. Now here's where things get explosive, literally. Chinese alchemists were not trying to invent a weapon. They were trying to invent immortality. Sometime between roughly the 9th and 10th centuries, alchemists mixing saltpeter, charcoal, and sulfur in search of a life-extending elixir instead produced something that burned their hands, scorched their workshops, and occasionally took the whole building with it. They called it fire medicine. The search for eternal life accidentally invented the first man-made explosive. It took a while for anyone to weaponize the discovery. But by the 10th century, Chinese armies were strapping gunpowder charges to arrows and lighting them before firing. The first fire arrows. Those evolved into early rockets capable of flying over a mile. Soon came bombs, early cannons, and gunpowder-based siege weapons. Gunpowder didn't stay only violent either. It went on to power fireworks, mining blasts, road construction, and eventually much quieter everyday tools. But its biggest legacy was military. Gunpowder helped tip the balance of power during the age of exploration, giving certain nations a decisive advantage as they expanded across the globe. In many ways, gunpowder ended the age of castles. No wall could stand forever against a cannon. Try to imagine keeping records without paper. Ancient civilizations carved messages into bone, bronze, bamboo, and stone, heavy, slow, and nearly impossible to transport. The Chinese also tried silk, but silk was far too expensive for ordinary use. Around the Han Dynasty, paper made from mulberry bark, hemp, old rags, and worn fishing nets began to spread, refined and popularized by an imperial official credited with turning it into something the masses could actually produce and use. The same trash, bark, rags, and fishing nets became the material that carried human knowledge across the centuries. Compare that to what other civilizations were using. Europe relied on parchment, made from animal skin, meaning every book required slaughtering livestock. Paper solved that problem entirely. Cheap, light, foldable, and durable. Within a few centuries, paper wasn't just for writing, it was used as currency, packaging, art, and yes, even early toilet paper. Without paper, There would be no newspapers, passports, or banknotes, and for what it's worth, no homework either. Paper alone wasn't enough. Someone still had to write every single copy by hand. That's where printing stepped in. The earliest Chinese printing used carved wooden blocks, inked and pressed onto paper like giant stamps. Around the 11th century, during the Song Dynasty, an inventor developed something far more efficient: movable type, individual carved characters that could be rearranged to print any page, then reused for the next one. 4 centuries before Europe's printing revolution, China had already solved the puzzle of movable type. China had already pioneered movable type centuries earlier, while Johannes Gutenberg later transformed printing in Europe with his own metal movable type press, a machine that could print pages roughly 100 times faster than writing by hand. Combine that speed with the cheap, portable nature of paper, and suddenly books could be mass-produced and carried across entire continents. Literacy spread. Stories, science, and history could finally be recorded accurately and passed on, without depending on memory or word of mouth. Printing turned knowledge from a luxury for the few into something ordinary people could actually own.
These 4 inventions didn't just come out of ancient China. They quietly built the foundation of the world we live in today. If you enjoyed this journey through history, hit subscribe for more stories like this one, and let us know in the comments which of these 4 inventions do you think changed the world the most.